Today we're going to do a Bob Dylan portrait and I'm going to talk it through step by step. So let's get started. All right, it is a Saturday and Saturday is often the day when I'll put up a video which I narrate. This is speeded up to, I think this is 2 times faster than I paint in real time. I couldn't put it up in real time. That would just be painful for everybody. But what you can do is you can touch the screen if you're on YouTube, the top right hand side of the screen, and it will either speed it up or slow it down, whichever you want to do. And yesterday I loaded it in a separate video just with music behind it. And I am painting Bob Dylan, or we are going to paint Bob Dylan together. So the first thing is finding the biggest value shapes of the darks. And so you see there's an L and a D on that value dab card that I have nearby. So the D is going to be my darks, the L's are going to be my lights, and I like to leave the white of the paper white, although I left very little of the white of the paper white in this case, which is unusual for me, but I think it really worked. So the dark is burnt sienna, a little bit of ultramarine blue, and probably a little bit of alizarin crimson in there too, which I'm going to be using as a triad throughout this painting. Sometimes I'm using them mixed together as I do on that dark, or sometimes I'll have them blend on the paper on their own. Now I need to put in a mid-tone, and this is cadmium red with a little bit of Naples yellow in it. The whole idea here is finding my biggest shapes first and establishing the value of those biggest shapes. That's my only goal here. I don't look at the individual eye, the mouth, the chin. That means nothing to me. I'm just looking for shape, and I'm saying to myself, shape, what value? Shape, what value? And all I have to answer here is what shape is it and what value is it? And if the value is dark, then I make that shape dark. And if the value is light, then I make this shape that red. And leaving and totally ignoring anything that I know is really white or appears white, because that I'm going to get to by process of elimination. It's really building from a foundation up. Now I'm moving on, and I have a bunch of different reds on my palette. I have some, of course, alizarin crimson. I have cadmium red. I have a permanent rose, and also a permanent rose which is tipped with a little bit of cerulean blue. That's going to be my skin tones. But I also still have that dark pile, because every once in a while I discover a shape along my way that I realize is dark, and so I'm going to put in that dark. So I'm not going just exclusively lights or putting in exclusively darks. I'm kind of going back and forth between the two, depending on what I see. Now, by seeing, what I mean is I'm squinting my eyes as much as I can and making comparisons. And all I do is I say, all right, what's that shape? How does that compare to that? And that's what I'm asking myself all throughout this. Now I've mixed up another dark, which is not as dark as my original dark, but it's certainly darker than anything on the light side. So that goes in the dark column, and I'm going to fill in more of that hair. Oh, I'm using a number 10 flat brush, Kolinsky Red Sable, and of course I load the brush a lot, meaning I really put a lot of paint on the brush. The paint is the consistency of about gravy or really thick cream. I don't do a lot of layering, as you'll see. I call myself a hit and run. I call myself a hit and run value shape painter. I'm looking for values and shapes and hit and run. If I don't get it on the first pass, maybe I'll get it on the second pass, but I'm not one to hang around for lots and lots of layers, which I know many great watercolorists are famous for, but that's just not in my style. Sometimes you have to know what your personality is, and my personality is not a very patient one. All right, so took care of the collar, which reads as white, but I know needs to be a little off-white, and back to the hair. All right, back to using that dark. So I'm using pretty much 2 darks and 2 lights so far to establish all of these shapes. And in the collar I did some triad work, because you can see where the cerulean blue meets the permanent rose and also the burnt sienna, but I don't rub. You'll see throughout this painting, I don't rub or lick. I make strokes, but I don't rubber lick. If I rubber lick, then what lick, by lick I mean touching paper, touching the paper, touching the paper, touching the paper. What'll happen is the colors will all mix in together and we'll create neutrals. And I don't want to do that. I want to place clean color next to clean color so that your brain kind of makes it into one overall value, but I don't do it. There is some ultramarine blue with some of that permanent rose going on real thick because that jacket is dark. And I would have switched to a different brush right now because I have more area to cover. So this is probably a number 12 flat. That's interesting. I just realized that I use flats for this painting, and I've been doing these portraits of singers that I listen to, and I've been using a round. I have no idea why I picked a flat. I wonder, I have to think about that and why that's the case. I really don't know. I picked up some of the color that was in his suit coat jacket and threw it up in the dark of the hair, which I had already established. Now I'm off to the side doing some mixing because I realize, okay, I've got some darks really well established and I've got some what I call midtones, but I'm calling them lights here. Those are well established, but boy, I still have a lot of area to cover. I can't leave that white like that because it'll read as an unfinished painting. So I'm mixing some colors over to the side. I'm mixing I'm trying to find lighter values than what I've used already in the light column. And you can see it tips almost a little bit into orange, so it's going to be lighter. I put that near the shapes I already established, not on top of, but next to. So I'm building in that sense. I'm building from darks to lights, but not on top of each other, but next to each other. All right. So that orange would have been like a cadmium red with a little bit of yellow added to it. Here I couldn't remember if Bob Dylan had blue eyes or not. I decided that for myself that he did. I have no idea. It's a black and white photo. And as I said, I'm not patient, so I didn't go and look it up. I can tell just by the movement of the paper that the hairdryer is going to come in. There's always this place about halfway through a painting where I need to dry everything. More than anything, probably to collect my thoughts. All right, it felt like the painting was okay, but like I said, way too much of the white is left on the paper, so I'm going to need to take care of that. And I thought, well, how can I take care of that? And I thought, well, one way is you got to beef up the color. You went in with one stroke of that that light color to begin with. You need to go back in and make that a stronger color, a bolder color. I didn't change the value at all, but what I did change was how bright it is. So there's a lot of red going in that's going to heighten the color. But if you were to look through the value finder, it's not going to change the value at all. In other words, my value relationships from the very, very, very beginning aren't going to change. Not going to change at all. What's changing is as I have a mass of white and lightness left over, is I have to account for that. So I'm going to keep mixing color until I can find something that's lighter than what I already put in, and I'm going to put that in the shapes that remain. And once I do that, I'll repeat the same thing. If there's still shapes left, I'll go lighter and until I really complete and address every shape that I can find in the painting. Now, sometimes you can't find shapes, and that was certainly the case on the left-hand side of his face. I could not find the shapes, but what comes to your rescue at a time like this is, if you've painted a lot of faces, then you kind of know how it goes. Or you know, by now I know about the face enough to know, I know where the bones are, so I know where the cheek breaks. I know where the planes of the face are. Not, you know, everyone has an individual face, but there are certain true things about all faces. And I was able to rely on that, which I really needed in this case, because that left-hand side of his face is what they call blown out. Sometimes a photograph gets blown out, and it's so blown out that you can't get the value information that you need. It just reads as a white, or it just reads as a black. So I really needed to rely on what I knew about the shapes in a conventional face. So that's what I'm working on right now. And you can see if I left this white, how distracting that shape would be. So even though I like how white that is in a way, I knew I couldn't leave that shape. It's just too distracting compared to the rest of the painting. So I'm going to take care of that. Again, mixing in up a lighter color off to the side to take care of this final part. And it'll blend together. But all these colors were put next to each other, not on top of each other. And in that way, the color still reads as being quite bright. Now, what I didn't show was I did dry it again, and I beefed up his suit color a little bit. I can't remember what else I did. But those would be final touches. And nothing. Well, no, I realized that there were some things that needed a little bit of shifting here. Again, no value shape shift happens because I have that well established. But what does happen is I decide if I want to make something brighter or do I want to make something duller. And we've talked about that, but in other videos. So here we go. This is really what I would call final touches. I keep my strokes to a minimum, and there's Bob Dylan. Young Bob Dylan. Now he looks so different, although his son looks very much like him at this time. So remember to keep the whites of your paper white, your paints wet, mask for value, mix for color, and I will see you next time. Oh, enjoy my YouTube channel. Okay, bye-bye.